Options are slim for Thomas Frank in the game versus Copenhagen, with possibly 12 first-team players out of the match due to injury or not being in the squad. Jamie Carragher analyses Palhinha and Xavi Simons. Frank calls for more support from the fans and a predicted lineup for the Copenhagen match. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines, but I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Okay, let's get into it. Football.London report that injuries will once again dictate what Tottenham Hotspur starting lineup Thomas Frank can select from to face FC Copenhagen in the Champions League on Tuesday night. Now, Lucas Bergvall will miss the next two matches as he goes through the concussion protocol after coming off early in the defeat to Chelsea. On Monday, Mohamed Kudus and Jed Spence were also missing from training at Hotspur Way to make it 10 absent stars, and Frank confirmed that the duo picked up knocks against Chelsea but could still be involved against the Danish visitors. Matisse Tell and Radu Dragusin are not registered for European competition, making it 12 for Tottenham first-team players who could potentially miss out. Frank has very few options in most departments of the team, particularly at fullback and in centre midfield. And here is a Spurs team Football.London thinks he might have to go with if he does not want to risk Kudus or Spence from the start and tries to give a much needed rest to someone like Palhinha ahead of Saturday's Premier League clash against Manchester United. So they've gone for Vicario in goal, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven and Udogie at the back, Sarr, Bentancur and Xavi in midfield, and Johnson, Richarlison and Odegaard up front. TBR Football report that Jamie Carragher has been quite critical of Palhinha's inability to progress the ball and has called for Frank to fix Tottenham Hotspur's midfield. Just a few days ago, Carragher said that Palhinha was Tottenham's best signing and suggested was just what the new Spurs boss needed. But against Chelsea, Palhinha was poor, and the Sky Sports Monday Night Football team have highlighted how low the Spurs midfield ranks for progressive passes. When asked about whether Tottenham's lack of line-breaking midfielders was an issue, Carragher told Sky Sports Monday Night Football, "That's the problem, and for me, for Thomas Frank, that's something he's got to grow. He's early in it, one of his first signings is Palhinha. Now, he's not capable, I don't think, of doing this. There is a reason why teams in the Premier League didn't buy him from Fulham, and there's a reason why Bayern Munich bought him and didn't play him. That's a worry." But for Thomas Frank moving forward, you think of pragmatic managers in the past. They've made that jump from smaller club to bigger club, and that has always been the problem. Can they coach the rotations, the build-up play, the break-in lines? Carragher also questioned Xavi Simons, who is another player having a tough time at Tottenham under Frank. The 22-year-old was subbed on after 5 minutes at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, only to be hauled off in the 73rd minute. Frank must quickly end his experiment of partnering Palhinha and Bentancur, or he risks alienating the fan base in North London. Neither the midfield is particularly strong when it comes to creating chances, meaning Spurs are struggling to build from the back. The former Brentford manager must consider bringing in Pat Matar for one of these two, but in fairness to Frank, he has been limited by injuries. Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall are both sidelined right now, leaving Sarr, Palhinha with Bentancur as his options against Copenhagen. The Guardian reports that Thomas Frank has called for better support from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium crowd after revealing that Mickey Van der Ven and Jed Spence had apologised to him for their reaction in the 1-0 home defeat against Chelsea on Saturday. Van der Ven and Spence were incensed when the full-time whistle sounded and the Spurs fans booed, as they had done at half-time with their team trailing to João Pedro's 34th minute goal. The defenders stormed past Frank towards the tunnel, ignoring their manager's attempts to get them to acknowledge the supporters in the South Stand. A bad look at the end of another bad Premier League day at the stadium. Tottenham have only won once in 5 games there under Frank in the competition, losing 3, which has continued a worrying trend. The team have 3 victories and 12 defeats in 19 home league matches and have lost 41 times at the stadium since it opened in 2019. It hurts the Spurs fan base to realise that their fiercest rivals Arsenal have lost 48 games at the Emirates Stadium, and that opened in 2006. That's league games, that is. Frank is acutely aware of how poor his team were against Chelsea. They have offered nothing in attacking terms, as he accepted the jeers could come after the final whistle. But he was also clear that there needed to be greater positivity from the stands during the game. There were boos, for example, towards the end when against Chelsea, when the goalkeeper Guillermo Vicario played a sideways pass rather than something more forward thinking. I want to get the point across that the fans were fantastic in the first 30 minutes, Frank said. It seems there was a little bit of a turning point when we conceded the goal, where we all get a little bit frustrated, which is natural. After the game, if we perform badly and on top of that we lose, it's more than fair enough they boo us. We're in the performance business, and if we can't deal with the pressure, the negativity or the criticism, we shouldn't sit here. But during the game, we needed a little bit of help, and especially when it's not going the right way. Okay, here's my thoughts on all those stories today. Yeah, we've definitely got a lot of players that could miss out on this game against Copenhagen on Tuesday evening. Possibly 12 players when you include the likes of players that aren't actually registered in the squad, like Dragusin or Tell. Now, is Frank going to give rests to players, and do you agree with that team selection that Football.London have predicted? I could probably see it actually coming to fruition. If he wants to rest certain players and not risk certain players, perhaps Thomas Frank is going to be thinking not which game's more important, but which game I suppose it is, isn't it? Which game is more important? Can we afford to not play our bigger players against Copenhagen, which is the weakest team, I suppose? And out of the two, Copenhagen and Manchester United, you would probably say it's Copenhagen. But having not lost in the Champions League, all right, we've been very, very lucky, I think, so far in the Champions League to remain unbeaten. But this is still a big game. I think if we can win our home games in the Champions League, we can really look to progress in this competition to the next stage anyway. Getting to that next stage is incredibly important. Still being in it after Christmas. Well, you know we're going to be in it after Christmas because of the new format, 2 games in January there. But to get into that final 24, if you like, yes, you have to play the playoff round. But this is important for the club to get through to that last 24. So, yeah, I guess it's a delicate balance, isn't it? It's a really delicate balance dealing with all the competitions, but that's what he has to do, Thomas Frank, and he's not had to do this ever before, so he's going to find it tough. But get down in the comments, let me know, what sort of team would you play against Copenhagen? Would you rest the likes of Kudus if he's not fully quite ready to play, or would you just sling him in? Do you see him, probably like I do and a lot of fans, that he's our only creative outlet at the moment? Get down in the comments and let me know. The other reports today, Jamie Carragher from last night, analysed, really good analysis. Actually go and watch it. It's on the Sky Sports YouTube channel. Really good analysis of how we played against Chelsea and Palhinha and Xavi Simons, the things that we did wrong essentially, and why we conceded that goal. It really is a good analysis. I won't talk about it too much because I think you really need to watch it if you haven't done so already. But there's glaring issues there you can see, and how players just don't want to be brave on the ball. Players hiding. It really is quite stark when you see it. As I say, it's really good analysis. I won't talk about it that much. Go and watch it. It really, really is good. Thomas Frank asking for more support from the fans against Copenhagen. I think the fans were quite loud until that goal went in. It certainly came across that way on the television when I was watching. It's probably not nice. Well, it's not going to be nice to hear the boos. We've all heard it, and as a player, it can't be nice to hear that. But I suppose, look, I've never been a massive fan of booing, but I get it. How else are the supporters supposed to get their points across? you pay all that money and then you get served up that. I do understand it, I really do. I think during the game, yes, the fans in the stadium need to get behind the team, winning, losing or drawing. But I do get the booing at the end of the game, I really do. But let's hope that the crowd at the stadium against Copenhagen is loud and can push the team on, because I think let's just get any win we can at the moment. I don't really care. Obviously want to see a good performance, a good attacking performance, but I think it's just get those 3 points in the bag against Copenhagen and move on. And then hopefully we can do the same against Manchester United before the next international break. But get down in the comments, let me know how you're feeling as a Tottenham fan right now, what your thoughts are, and what team perhaps you'd pick against Copenhagen this evening. And as always, come on you Spurs.